All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim who pushing his gospel and truth and sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon their houses. This is Brother Quantum Wealth. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson. Through the spirit and power, Yahweh Bashim Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will, straight to the point. But as you see here on naturalnews.com, it says Putin threatens to nuke the West and destroy civilization as NATO and U.S. prepare to strike Russia. So, and as you see right here, World War III is starting to, build up heavy, man. Heavy, right, with talks of nuclear war directly between America and Russia, man, And as we get into this article, it ultimately describes, just how heated things are getting, man, But again, the World War III, right, is just around the corner. And again, just to, make this statement, right, we understand that, World War III, right, cannot come until Jacob's trouble comes, So Jacob's trouble is first, right, the next major prophecy, and then World War III, But still, nonetheless, it is creeping up really quick, right? It says Russian President Vladimir Putin wants the West to know that he is aware that NATO and the U.S. are preparing to strike Moscow, and that he would not have qualms about using the country's nuclear arsenal to destroy civilization. And we know that Vladimir Putin, man, he don't play, and he's getting to that point, right, with America and the decisions that America is making, right? It's just, America's making it worse, right? It says, according to Reuters, the Ukraine war has triggered the worst crisis in Moscow's relations with the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Putin has previously spoken of the dangers of the confrontation between NATO and Russia, but his nuclear warning on Thursday was one of his most explicit, right? So, again, things are getting real bad, right? So a lot of people don't believe, that there's ultimately going to be war, but we're in the time of war, man, where these nations, again, are preparing for war, And I got this precept right here, which we'll come back to that, Joel, right? Because I want to grab that. It's a fire one too, but I want to grab this. It's Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Drop down to verse 8. It says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we are in the time of war, man. And you best believe it. The prophets, the true prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right, have been speaking of this moment that is coming, right, for decades, man. And y'all don't believe it, but the Lord is having that moment, right, come to pass, right? It's building and creeping up on us, right, as we read this article, right? So I want to grab this real quick before we get back to the article, right? In Ezekiel, what is that? 25. No, it's not 25 and 12. Ezekiel 12. Right, Ezekiel 12. I'm gonna read it in the NLT, right, and just get to the point. Ezekiel 12 and verse 25, right, pursuant to the prophecy, right, of World War III, right, Ezekiel 12 and 25. For I am Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. If I say it, it will happen, right? The Lord, is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent, right? Numbers 23 and 19, right? So when he speaks, it's going to come to pass, right? It says, there will be no more delays, you rebels of Israel. I will fulfill my threat of destruction in your lifetime, right? In your own lifetime. So it's going to happen in our lifetime, right? It says, I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. That's right. And again, we're seeing the Lord ultimately, bring that, that war about, Habakkuk 2 and 3, the vision is yet for an appointed time, and we're in that time, where the vision is being put together, right? Continuing on halfway through, right? It's and just to show we're right here. It says a 71-year-old leader said that they, NATO and America, are active in other parts of the world, of course, and they continue to lie there to deceive. They are preparing to strike our territory and using the best possible forces, the most effective forces to do so. But we remember the fate of those who try to invade our territory, and of course their fate will be much more tragic than anything we could face. Wow, so he's shitting all over America, man. You know, basically saying we're gonna whoop your ass, man, and we're gonna do it in the worst way. You know, which is that's the Lord ultimately again returning Russia back into that, that Soviet mindset, man, right? Because this ain't nothing new, you know. Let's go to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And I was going to pull this earlier, but however the Spirit wants to go, man, flowing in the Spirit, right? Ezekiel 38 and verse 4, right? It says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. It's speaking on, Russia, right? Gog and Magog, right? The Lord is turning them back into that Soviet era type mindset, right? It says, and I will put hook into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, right? So, and this is what we see, right? Russia has, brought his army up, and now they're at war with, Ukraine, right? And as we read in this article, Russia is ultimately preparing to recruit more of their troops, man. So let's go back. It says, speaking ahead of the March 15th to 17th presidential election, when he is certain to be reelected for another 6-year term. Of course, 6, right? There you go, right? It says Putin made sure to get it out in public how advanced and modernized the Russian nuclear arsenal is, further warning the West they have to understand that we also have weapons that can defeat them on their territory. Of course, all this is very dangerous because it could trigger the use of nuclear weapons. Do they not understand that? Right? Which America don't, man. America's, really it's, you see the state in which, the president's in, but deep down, this is all part of the elite's the plan, man. Really, Yahweh Bashim Shah's plan, right? Proverbs 21:1, right? The Lord is in control of all their minds, man. It says he reiterated that strategic nuclear forces are in a state of full readiness for guaranteed use. He also said that the provocation to trigger a nuclear attack could be catalyzed if NATO continues to send troops to Ukraine. He said that Russia must strengthen its Western military district after Finland and Sweden's admission to the Atlantic Alliance, as Finland has a long land border with northwest Russia. They should eventually realize that we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory. Everything that the West comes up with creates the real estate. It's like it creates the real threat of the conflict with the use of nuclear weapons, and thus the destruction of civilization, right? He's not playing, man. And again, America is just going to continue to press those buttons, man. And it's just going to be worse for America. Hell, it's getting worse as we read, right? It says, meanwhile, Germany, Poland, meanwhile, Germany, Poland, and NATO have ruled out sending ground troops to Ukraine. The statements come after French President Emmanuel Macron raised the prospect following a European leaders' meeting on boosting support for Ukraine in its war against Russia. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that there will be no ground troops, no soldiers on Ukraine's soil who are sent there by European states or NATO states. He also said that there was also consensus that soldiers operating in our countries also are not participating actively in the war themselves. Right? So these nations are saying, hell no, we ain't getting involved. We're not going to get involved, right? America's, ultimately, creating this bed themselves, right? And they're going to allow America, to basically lie in it, right? It says, moreover, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and Czech Prime Minister Peter Fiala, two of Kyiv's strongest supporters, stated they too were not considering sending troops. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also told the Associated Press that while members of the alliance had provided unprecedented support to Ukraine, there are no plans for NATO combat troops on the ground in Ukraine. So again, these nations are not backing America and the decision, right, to basically, press the situation with, in Ukraine, right, against Russia. Which is eventually it's going to get to the point America is going to continue to push, and eventually these nations are going to say, nah, fuck that. We're going to side with Russia because Russia is a huge contributor, right, of 40% of the economy, right, just based off of their grain, right, and their gas, Those are huge, contributors to the European economy, man, right? So without Russia, the European economy is done, and they're gonna be up in flames, man. So they need Russia, they in a sense they don't necessarily need America like that, man, right? In order to be able to live, So these nations again are gonna back, Russia, which is prophecy, Again, this is the building of World War III that we're seeing. Actually, yeah. Let me grab this in Revelations. In verse chapter 17 and verse 16, it says, in verse 16, it says, "And the 10 horns, which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire," right? Because again, America is going to continue to press, against their own allies, right? And their allies are going to turn against them, and again side with Russia, which the 10 horns going into NATO, which 3 NATO countries, right, members, were part of this article that we're reading, right? And I want to list off, which I have pulled up right here, right? These are all the NATO country members, right? It says at present NATO has 31 member countries. These countries, called NATO allies, are sovereign states that come together through NATO to discuss a political and security issues and make collective decisions by consensus, right? It says, and this is a list, right? It says Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, Czechia, right? Which is one of the the countries that was listed as not wanting to send troops, right? It says Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, right? Germany was one of them. It says Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, right? Again, Poland being one of them, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, UK, and the US, right? Which the US is ultimately the head of the NATO, right? Which again, these nations are, starting to, look at America's decisions and saying, no, we don't want no part of that, We don't want no part of that because you're not, America's not operating in the best interests, right, as, of the team, so to speak, America being selfish, right, with its decisions, right, which again, these nations, are going to say, fuck it, right? You're having more and more nations start to join BRICS, rather than NATO. Let's go back to this article, read these last 2 paragraphs, grab a few more precepts, and get out of here, right? It says, as other European countries rejected Macron's suggestion of sending Western troops to Ukraine, Lithuania's foreign minister told CNN on Thursday that he fully supports the idea. Gabrielius Landsbergis said that like-minded countries could lend a hand to Ukraine's fight by sending personnel to the country. Most likely, we are not talking about combat troops, but it could be training. It could be other thoughts of assistance to Ukraine. He added, I have to stress that we are not talking about NATO action. So, I mean, he ultimately, we get the point, right? Some of these NATO nations are, right, going to help, with this situation and aid in this situation, but again, majority of these nations, right, are eventually going to just turn, on, America as a whole, right? It says he added that he saw several signs, rhetorical, practical, and military signs that Russia is not about to stop with Ukraine. According to him, it is likely that they will be mobilizing an additional 400,000 troops, and it's not omitted that they will be placed on NATO's border. It has to be very clear that Ukraine has to win if we don't want this conflict to spread also into NATO countries, which, I mean, again, that's, just America, really just pressing the envelope, right, when they're the ones that are causing the problems, but again, it says, an additional 400,000 troops. And again, it doesn't stop there, right? It's not just, Russia gathering up these troops, right? This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 9, KJV. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, right? It says, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And again, we're seeing America has issues with, with Iran right now, right? And you have a whole bunch of these, so-called Houthi rebels, right? Terrorizing the Mediterranean Sea, right? The war in Israel and Gaza, right? The war between Russia and Ukraine, right? As well as there's other wars, right? That, aren't, mainstream that are happening across the world, man. Those are just the ones that are, the big names, right? Hey, but war is happening. These nations are preparing war again, mainly for, you know, these nations to be gathered in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which is again, right, taking place before our eyes, right? Verse 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? So again, you got a lot of these nations, right, especially North Korea, Iran, as well as other nations, starting to, flex their power a little bit. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, right? So again, not just Russia, right? Which we're going to grab in a minute, right? It says, and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh, right? Because again, going back into Proverbs 21:1, the Lord, right, is in control of everything that happens here, right? Especially the leaders of these nations, right? So it says the mighty ones come down. It's talking about the angels, right? The Lord sending the angels down to stir up the minds of the leaders of these nations, right? To get them, in that World War III mindset, preparing and setting the stage for what we're seeing today, and what is to come, but I want to jump to Ezekiel, 38th chapter and continue on, right? We read verse 4, right? Speaking on, Russia being turned back into that Soviet, Soviet era type mindset, but on a what is that? An amplified scale right now, man, right? Because really things are worse, as we just read, and how he's getting his military ready. But again, it doesn't just stop with Russia, right? Verse 5, it says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. So these are allies, right, of Russia, which Persia, right, which we've looked up many a times, right? It goes into, the modern day, Iranians, right, which in the scriptures also call them, right, Carmanians, right? Those are the Iranians, right, the Ethiopians and the Libyans with them, and all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah, and of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee, right? So again, a lot of Russia's allies are preparing war. A lot of these nations, period, are preparing war, and again, the whole goal, right, is to go and to destroy America, man. That's the goal, right? That's to destroy the one that's causing all the problems in the earth, right? We'll end it with this, Jeremiah chapter 51 and 50 and verse 9, right? It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, which the north country is going into Russia, but it says an assembly of great nations, right? So this means a collective of different nations that are going to be, like-minded in their goal, right? When it comes to their military, strategy or military targets, which this target would be who? Would be America, right? Babylon, right? It says cause to come up against Babylon, an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. And those arrows are going into those ICBM nuclear missiles, right? Let's see what it says for arrows in the blue letter. We'll see if it's got it, right? Arrow, dart, shaft, spear, thunderbolt. Let's see what else. It says right here, it says shot, right? Shot from engine of war. It doesn't give anything else other than that. But the arrow is ultimately, again, going into, those ICBM nuclear missiles, which, we understand that Russia has, an extremely large arsenal, of ICBM nuclear missiles, as well as, some of the strongest ICBM nuclear missiles created today, and they're waiting to use them, right? Because they were created for a reason, Let's go on to this one and pull out Isaiah chapter 54, it's like in verse 16, right? Proving that, right? It says, behold, I've created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument of his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. And that waster is going into those ICBM nuclear missiles, right? The Smith is going into those scientists that, that split the atoms and, ultimately create these bombs, man. The Lord created them, right, for a reason, right, to destroy, and these nations, again, are being put in this mindset to destroy, right? So that's the time that we are in, right? We're in the time, of war, as we read. So we're going to go back to Jeremiah 50, and I'll read verse 9 again, and we'll close out. Right, we'll close out. Right, it says Jeremiah 50:9, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, which again we know is Russia, right? And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty excrement. None shall return in vain. That's right, man. And America will be destroyed. America is going to be gone, man. By Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, man. So with that, Lord will is edifying, Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rachak Wadash, double honors to the elder apostles, elder bishops, great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.